And welcome back to another episode of the Gun Collective Podcast. My name is Adam Kraut.
And my name is White Chocolate.
And this week's episode is brought to you by Blue Alpha Gear and the TGC Patreon supporters. And some technical difficulties in the beginning.
What technical difficulties do we have?
Oh, there's some screwing up with the opening sequence there and some clicking that I'm sure people heard and whatnot. But anyway.
Oh, it's fine. It's fine.
So, welcome back. It's another week here at TGC headquarters.
Welcome back. Like, welcome back, Cotter. Huh? No?
Oh, boy.
No? Hey,
No.
so we got some white chocolate here. Are you mad about it still?
Always.
Okay.
Perpetually angry about it.
So what are we doing this week?
I don't know.
Adam doesn't know.
Adam doesn't know.
So we're going to mix things up again.
Again. Oh, man. Dude, these people on the podcast are going to drive their car into a tree if we keep doing this stuff to them.
No, they're not.
Well, we'll find out.
People seem to enjoy it.
If you've driven your car into a tree in the last week, be sure to let us know.
So what we did this week to continue switching things up and making it interesting is I posted something in our TGC Nation Facebook group.
Which, if you're not a part of, you can apply at
You can
the
apply.
TGC Nation Facebook group for entry.
You can do that. But basically, I just said, hey, what do you guys want us to talk about? And we're going to talk about the stuff you guys asked about.
I don't like this.
Why?
Because they're going to want to talk about white chocolate, aren't they?
That was actually the number one suggestion, but we're going to go ahead and skip that one because
Excellent.
we spent a fair amount of time on it in the last few weeks. But I think it's time.
Time for what?
Time for things and stuff. Oh, do you want to talk about Super Chats? Why don't you talk about Super Chats? You know the drill.
Oh, I do. Yes, sort of. So Super Chats, if you're not familiar with Super Chats and you're watching live on YouTube, you can go ahead and leave a Super Chat where we guarantee we will read your comment.
Guaranteed.
Guaranteed.
You don't have to. You don't have to do it.
There's no obligation to do it, but we appreciate it. And if you want your comment read, it may be censored a little bit, depending upon the language you elect to use.
Yeah, it will most likely be censored.
So play nicely, children. But yes, Super Chats, we do read them, typically around halftime. Yeehaw. All right, so what do we got?
Yeehaw. So, Ryan Yoder says, origin stories, how you two first got into guns. Now, I know your story, and I think you probably know a little bit about my origin story, but this will not be like Wolverine. Why don't you start us off, man?
Well, you see, once upon a time, there was a young boy named John Patton.
Oh, you're going to tell my story?
No.
That would be interesting.
Yeah, it would be interesting, but I don't recall it well enough to do that.
Do you think you're creative enough on the fly
to invent a story?
To invent a story about my start of guns?
Yes, but it won't be funny, so it would be a waste of everybody's time,
All
including
right.
mine.
So how did you get into guns, Adam?
How did I get into guns? Well, it actually probably started with a BB gun.
Really?
Yeah, I bought a BB gun. My parents bought me a BB gun at like a yard sale or something. That was before I'd ever shot a real gun, any kind of gun. And it was, it was a neat little toy.
Is that before you became a real boy?
Yes. It was while I was still not a real boy.
A marionette?
Yes, a marionette, if you will. So I'm trying to think. I don't know what I shot with that thing, but I shot some stuff. I probably shot a bird or two and probably felt really guilty about it. And of course, I grew up in a house that didn't have guns, so nobody taught me like gun safety or anything like that.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
But I actually still have that BB gun. It is next to my safe. Found it at my parents' house a while back, and I brought it over and figured maybe I'll tinker around with it, see if I can get it to work a little better. It is I guess a pump action. I don't know how you describe it. It's like a lever.
Yeah,
it's like a lever action pump.
Pump BB gun.
Pump BB gun. Yeah. Then my actual first real experience with guns was at Scout Camp Horseshoe. I was 12 years old. It was a Marlin. I don't remember. It was some kind of weighted competition. Right, it was a heavy sucker.
Oh, cool.
And it had I guess it was peep sights on it.
I don't remember what I shot those same guns. Well, it might not have been the exact same guns, but I also shot at that exact same scout camp.
It had like the target, like the real circle with the pinhole rear sight.
Yeah.
And I remember shooting that, and that was a whole lot of fun. I had a stupid smile that never left my face from that. And then I remember my first time shooting a shotgun actually was also down at Camp Horseshoe.
Okay.
So they have a trap range there, and it was Bill Hess, who was like an icon down there, who was running it. And I can remember I bought tickets to it, and I was terrified of the kick of it because 12 gauge has this renowned kick, and when you're 12 years old and have no experience with firearms, you think it's gonna be the worst thing in the world. And so I remember going up there. He handed me the gun. He kind of walked me through like what would happen because I told him it was my first time. Okay, so I pull, bang, like right off the bat. And it wasn't like pull, bang, trying to smoke that clay target. It was like pull, bang, how bad is this going to hurt? And then I realized it didn't hurt at all. And then I started shooting clays and hitting some.
Sure.
And that's kind of where it all started. And it just deteriorated from there, I guess.
Wow.
Yeah.
Deteriorated. When did you buy your first gun? Were you 18?
Yeah.
You were 18. Okay.
Yeah, I turned 18. I bought a shotgun. It's a Remington 870 Express 20 gauge.
You still have it?
I do. I'm still to get rid of it, but that didn't. Yeah, that didn't happen. And then the only other gun I bought between then and I think when I was 21 was the model's going to escape me. It's a Remington. It's a bolt action rifle that came equipped with a scope from the factory. It was the
760.
It might have been the 770.
770. Okay, yeah.
It might have been. It was a cheap, relatively speaking. To me, it wasn't cheap then, money wise, but it's cheap. Bolt action that was 30-06 that I sold. It's one of the few guns I sold.
That's very Pennsylvania of you.
Yeah, and I don't know how I ended up on that caliber. It was bought at Cabela's. My dad left me alone with my cousin.
30-06.
It's a really versatile round.
It's
like you
versatile
can kill
because
everything
it's
with
fantastic.
You can kill everything with it. Not that and I took a deer hunting once, and I did shoot a deer with it. But
did you cry?
No, I didn't cry.
Okay.
I shot the thing.
Well, I mean, some people have an emotional experience their first time hunting.
No, it was like a respectful event, I guess would be the best way to describe it. It wasn't. So then I got rid of it because that was a stupid gun to own, and I think the next gun I bought was a HKP 2000 for my 21st birthday.
Wow.
I was gonna buy the SK, and then I was
so
dead
glad
set.
you didn't.
I was dead set on it, and I went in and actually picked one up, and yeah, that wasn't gonna happen. And the other thing, I was originally gonna be in 357 because I'd read on the internet how awesome 357 was, and then I bought a 9mm because some sense was smacked into me somewhere between there and my purchase.
Yeah, I think you've been. That's kind of an interesting journey. You started with a shotgun.
Yes.
Then got into a 770. I believe you're correct on that model.
I think that's what it is.
And a 30-06.
Yeah.
You're 12 gauge 30-06 and then a 9mm.
20 gauge 30-06 and then a 9mm.
Oh, okay.
And then I built my first AR-15, and that's where it really kind of took a turn for the worse. Then there was
and then ARFCOM.
AR-15s galore. There was more handguns, silencers, SBRs. SBRs before silencers. And
so many actually, guys.
I think I have more. Yeah, so many. I think I have more SBRs than I do rifles.
Right now?
Oh, yeah.
Really?
By like a significant margin.
How many? Do you have like 4 or 5 of them? I didn't think you had that many. Oh wow, that's cool.
And there's an SBS.
You need a machine gun.
I can't afford a machine gun.
That's
I couldn't afford to shoot a machine gun.
Well, that's different than.
Well, no, they're both true statements. I couldn't afford a machine gun, followed by I couldn't afford to shoot a machine gun.
Well, if you weren't buying such fancy white chocolate, we wouldn't have a problem. Yeah. I said it.
Yeah, my stomach's a little more important than a machine gun.
Yeah. Hey, quick shout out to everybody that's watching live here on YouTube. We appreciate you guys blowing up the chat every week and joining us in the conversation.
Yes. Thank you for joining us. You can tell us your first-time stories in the comments, too.
Yeah, I'd be real curious to see what everybody's first gun was, too.
That would be interesting. Yeah. So that's kind of it. And then, I mean, you guys have been kind of seeing how it's progressed since then. Yeah.
So I started. I don't remember the year. I started. When I was a kid,
it was 1792.
Well, no, there was guns in the house when I was a kid.
Okay.
My dad had a 22, which I still have, and it was a Glenfield model something or other, and I've actually shot that gun out to 200 yards.
Really?
Yeah. It's a 22 long rifle. That was a pretty cool gun. My brother and I used to go out on our back deck and like stack up soda cans and just play, because where we lived, you could just shoot. And we had we created our own backstops and had that kind of fun. And at the same time, my brother and I were both given single shot 20 gauge shotguns.
Okay.
Like a break action.
Yeah.
Those were pretty cool. And I also did the scouting thing. I didn't make it as far as you did in scouts. It wasn't. I was
different for everybody.
Yeah, I was a different kid back then. But you know, there was a lot of years I did that, and then there was like this gap of where I got into music and I got into cars. That's actually where we met when we were both into cars.
Funny. We'll come back to that funny story.
That's a funny story. I used to make fun of Adam. Is it this way? My hair? Sorry.
I don't know. Well, no, funny story. I mean, I'll interrupt you here. Funny story about the car. You mentioned different interests, and the one thing I've noticed, and I bet you a lot of people listening have the same thing in their life for the most part. I'm willing to bet. I've found that like my gun buying habits ebbed and flowed over time. So depending upon what my interests were. So guns have been a constant interest since I was like 12 and then 18 and actually bought one. But the buying of guns and how I was into like getting accessories and setting up stuff ebbs and flows. So like right now, I mean, I've hit my guitar phase. I'm really starting to enjoy that. So that's where my money's being spent. Guitar stuff, gun stuff. I'm like, right. And then that'll peter out a little bit, I'm sure, and it'll go back to be like, oh, I need all this gun stuff, and there's like wads of cash being spent until I'm told no more.
Yeah.
But it ebbed and flowed. So like cars, it was the same thing. I spent a lot of money on car stuff, and then it would be guns and nothing on the car, and then it would, back and forth,
sure,
like that.
So I think it was like 2009, which is actually around the time that I started my Chaos YouTube channel. That's kind of when I got into guns.
Yep.
So I was friends with two different guys named Mike. One guy was local. He had just come back from Iraq and took me to shoot machine guns. We shot an MP5 and a UMP and I think like an M16 or something, like an M4 or whatever the heck it was, down at Target Master.
Okay.
So I did that and I was like, oh, this is pretty cool. And I started getting into it. And then the thing that really set me up is I was gaming a lot, and I had a buddy that was in Chicago, and a local friend of mine actually moved out to Chicago. So I went and stayed with my local friend and met up with this guy, Mike, who is still a good friend of mine, and we went and shot Mike's collection. So Mike had all kinds of stuff.
Okay.
That was the first time I ever shot a big revolver. No, I shouldn't say that. I shot a revolver with local Mike. Chicago Mike, he had me shooting a Sega 12, a couple AKs. He had a big collection of Krebs Customs guns.
Okay.
And that was before Krebs was like what they
huge.
are now. So there was that. I shot the Desert Eagle for the first time and a few other things. He had some really cool stuff, and I just got super into it from there. Mike and we just kind of went back and forth. And this was around the time I actually sold my STI in 2009.
Okay.
So I was getting out of the car scene.
Yeah.
And you know how heavy I was into that. That was like my whole life. So I was getting out of the car scene and getting into guns. I bought my first, the Smith & Wesson 686 Plus, which is just off
somewhere over here.
It's a 6-inch 357 7-shot, which is kind of an abnormal first gun, but I love that thing. I bought that at French Creek Outfitters. I had to order it because nobody had them.
Interesting.
So I went from there, and then I started buying. I had a decent job, so I started buying a bunch of stuff. I sold my STI and then jumped into a $1,500 '93 Corolla.
I remember that car.
Right.
You know what's funny, by the way? Somebody in the chat said earlier that they bet you were an STI guy and I was a 911 guy that had it, like an old 911 guy that hadn't yet got his 911.
We both had
guys.
STIs. Yeah, that's how we met. Adam had green wheels on his car.
Originally,
had bright green wheels, and I was the kind of guy that just laid into everybody. Like, that's stupid. Take that crap off your car.
It was stupid.
Then
I put Evo 10 BBS MR wheels on it.
Yeah, I kind of set my car up with like the most suspension parts possible.
Yeah, it was
all the really nice stuff, and then I daily drove it.
If I could go back again, I would never have spent that money in the engine bay. The suspension on those cars, absolutely. And now we're getting into cars. I totally would have done it on that, but
so I'm gonna rattle off some of the early stuff that I bought.
Go ahead. Ready?
There was a
top 5 and go.
Top 5? No, I can't do that.
Order.
I bought I don't remember. I know I had a a Glock 19 early on. I bought the Springfield XD. I traded the 19 for the Springfield XD. That's
Here comes the
ported.
hate parade.
I don't care. I had a Walther PK 380 that I later got rid of because it wouldn't feed anything. It just wouldn't work. I had we talked about this before, a matching serial number set.
Yes, you should never have
of
sold
this
that,
SIG
by the
556
way.
and 522. I definitely should have sold it. They were not that fun to shoot. And Lord knows what else. My first AR-15 was the 50 Beowulf that's over your right shoulder with the silver receiver in the wood.
Yeah, I know.
That was the first one that I ever had. I had a 50 Beowulf before I had a 556.
Well, let's just talk about this for a second.
Okay.
How stupid is that?
What do you mean? How stupid is that? It's amazing. I learned the hard way. I did that I'm so dumb as a human being that like I
need the biggest every time.
I need to learn the weird way. So I didn't learn about cars through something that was common. I had a Mazda MX-6 that I modified the crap out of. Okay. And this is not a fast car. I loved it.
Sure.
But I learned how to work on cars when you couldn't just go buy stuff at AutoZone. You had to like custom order. There was like 5 companies that ever made any parts. So I had to learn about things the hard way.
Right.
And I kind of did the same thing with guns. Like I had to figure out how to like machine. I took a Dremel to the ejection port on that thing because I couldn't. I was like, I don't understand.
Well, you can't lead a horse to water and all that.
Well, listen, there was not a lot of info about the 50 Beowulf. Hey. So I bought an AR-15 receiver, not thinking the brass would not fit through the ejection port. So I had to mill that out.
So if anybody that's watching wants to make a meme of John with a Dremel tool, please feel free to submit those to us.
Yeah, so people are like, hey, listen, I don't care if you make fun of me because it is what it is. I can't change it.
Oh, no, it's all in good fun, too. But so you took a Dremel tool, you opened it up.
Yeah, I opened it up. I learned a lot.
Sure. We don't all have access to bridge ports and stuff anyway. So.
Right. And you know, it was something cool. I had my dad help me a little bit.
And I did. To be fair, I also did not know that a piece of 50 Beowulf brass would not fit through that ejection port.
Yeah, it's big.
I did not know that.
It's big. So there was that. Then there was the Chaos Carbine.
I remember that.
A lot of this stuff is actually on YouTube.
Yeah.
The Chaos Carbine was like a super lightweight piston gun. It was like 5 pounds, 6 pounds, something like that. At the time, it was really, really light.
At the time, it was light. Yeah.
It's still a really, really light gun. It's, again, right over your shoulder. Has a unique piston system. That gun
it's got
a Daniel Defense
system,
barrel.
Okay.
It's got a Osprey Defense Ops 416 gas piston system.
That's what it was, the Osprey Defense. We talked about
a really
them.
unique handguard. It's got a Geisley Super Dynamic 3 gun in it, in a polymer receiver.
Yep, here we go. This is why John is ridiculous.
But if you look behind us,
it's just a wall of ridiculous.
It's a wall of interesting. It's not ridiculous. It's a
pants.
wall of interesting. And baby pea pants. I mean, I could literally tell you the story about all of these rifles. The 500 Magnum lever action. That's one of my favorites, simply because I waited so damn long for that thing. I waited, I think, 2 or 3 years to get that from Bighorn Armory.
And it's a gorgeous rifle.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Can we just...
It was the first one they ever did threaded. That is literally the coolest gun. Well, I shouldn't say that. It's one of the coolest guns.
It's a gorgeous gun, and it's fun to shoot, too.
But, you know, I've always... I started out thinking, if it doesn't play a different role in the collection,
sure, why
then I don't want it.
That's really interesting.
And then that's how I ended up with the Beretta. I had a Smith & Wesson Model 1000 shotgun.
Okay.
That was my first semi-auto shotgun. I had one of those. I had my 870 as well, my 870 Marine. And that I looked at, like, I had a knock stock on that thing. It was just awful. I made so many poor decisions. But
hey, you learned through experience.
Oh,
I don't
my
think
God,
anybody
that's
came
how
out.
you get here.
I don't think anybody in the gun world was like, you know, from day one, I put all the right stuff on. I can't...
You know why I took the knock? Hold on. Do you know why I took the knock stock off?
I don't.
Because it pinched my beard hair. It just ripped it out of my face.
So the like my SBR, really the only AR-15 I ever take to the range. It was my first SBR. It's gone through I don't know how many different iterations of stuff that's been.
I think that was the first SBR I ever shot. Was yours?
Really?
Yeah.
So that gun started out as like I think it was a 12.5. It had a LaRue rail on it at some point, vertical foregrip, some heavy ass light.
Yeah.
Then it went to like an 11.5, it went through a couple different iterations to get where it was today, and a lot of it was after I took a carbine class for the first time. I was like, well, I don't need this on it. I don't need this on it. Like, stuff just started coming off the rifle. Like, this works. That doesn't work. This needs to be repositioned. And what was really interesting and fascinating to me was, all the shooting I'd ever really done was just going to the range and shooting rounds, taking a class and like lifting that rifle up all day long. Once you do that for an entire day, you're like, hold on, I don't need a lot of this stuff. Like, get this off here.
Right. You start to understand.
Yeah, and you understand more about
how to use it.
How to use it properly. In context, I guess, with what you theoretically your intended purpose is. And it's also interesting to me that the way you did your collection, mine was just kind of like, let me just amass as many guns as I can possibly afford. And now I'm like,
mine was full of strategery.
Yeah, mine wasn't. I have a lot of AR-15s. I've got I forget how many handguns. I have more handguns than I need. And I'm thinking about like, I should just sell some of these. Like, I don't shoot. Most of them just sit in the safe.
Yeah.
Like, it's cool to be like, I have all these guns, but realistically, like, they don't do anything. They just sit there. I was huge into HK. I got a lot of HK handguns.
Yeah, I remember that. No,
and now I used to carry an HK.
I carried that HK-45 full size for a long time.
I carried a P2000, then I went to a P30, then I went to a P30L. Then I went to a M&P 9 full size with a red dot. Slide was milled by ATEI, and then been carrying a Glock, a stock Glock 19 or a 17, one of the Vickers guns, with a light, and that's been it.
Yeah.
So it's been interesting to kind of like go through that evolution of. I don't know. I don't know if a lot of. I've talked to other gun owners. Particularly guys within the industry, and they all kind of said the same thing, where like they've reached that peak where it's like I guess a diamond would be the best way to describe it. So you start real small, and then you get bigger, big,
and then you get to a point selling stuff.
Yeah, then you get to a point where you're like, why do I have this much? And then it inverts and goes the other way. But part of the problem is also,
I don't know that I'll ever get to that point.
Well,
I don't know. I might.
The other part that kind of hurts is like, I kind of want to sell some of it, but I also don't want to take necessarily the financial loss because I know I'll never get that money back.
No,
and that's a hard pill to swallow in some ways. Like, is it some of the value better than it just sitting there doing nothing? I don't know. I haven't made that decision yet.
Some of the guns I've got I have so many stories with them, like moments. For instance, my blue Beretta that's right here behind me.
I love shooting that gun.
I'll hold it up. So this is an A400 Excel, and I don't know if I still do, but at one point I had the most popular video on YouTube about both of my A400 reviews. The A400 Excel and the Extreme were some of the most popular A400 videos.
Really?
Yeah.
I did not know that. That gun,
I love it.
When we shoot sporting clays and you come with us, I'm not renting. I don't own a shotgun for sporting clays. I'm not shooting an 870 there. And you can rent the silver pitches, and they're nice guns.
They're nice guns, but
that
better.
A400, oh my god,
yeah,
that's a gun I need to buy. Still.
It's funny. I was down in Georgia, so I've had this blue one for a long time, and I was down in Georgia with Eric and Chad, and we were at some gun store, and I bought I got a deal on it. I bought an A400 Extreme because I didn't own one. I had to send back the one from Beretta.
That's the one. It's over
here. Yeah. So I bought that, and then I also that same day bought a Browning Bookmark carbine.
Yes,
which is
a
now
rad gun.
Guess where it is?
It's don't tell me. I'm not gonna be able to think of the name, but you're getting it integrally suppressed.
It's at KG Made.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Dude, it's gonna be gangster.
It was already kind of gangster because I'd never seen one of those before in my life.
Yeah, it's gonna be so cool.
So I'm sure it's gonna be even more gangster now.
But yeah, I mean, really for me, it's a lot of. I didn't have that thing in my collection. Let me find a way to have something interesting. Like everything I have, in my opinion, is interesting in some way or has some sort of sentimental value.
Yeah.
For the most part, some of the guns are results of promos and things like that I've held on to. But for the most part, what is up here? Like people talk crap on this High Point C9.
That gun works.
I love that gun.
Not only does that gun work, it's pretty accurate.
It's fun. That's what it's. That gun is fun. It is cheap and it feels cheap.
It works though. But it works.
Right. This was the first time I ever shot something that one of my friends built. This House of Arms. I think they call it an HCR, the hybrid custom rifle or whatever. But this is a 500 Magnum TC. The 6.5, that was the first time I had ever built an AR-10. I did that live with Ben up at Lancer.
Yeah.
That was cool. That's sentimental value to me. I could tell stories about all these, but somebody asked about this yellow gun. That was one I found for a smoking deal at a local gun shop. So that's got an XLR chassis on it, which alone is like $300 or $400, and a barreled 700 action in 7 Remington Ultra Mag. There you go. I bought.
Do you have ammo for that?
I bought that for no, I don't. I bought that for $500, all of it.
I don't. What's a box of Ultra Mag cost?
I have no idea. I'll probably put a different barrel on there.
Oh, okay.
But,
so just keep the action.
But the point is, it's a barreled action with a chassis.
Yeah, I got you.
That's worth what I paid for it alone.
Sure.
So I got a smoking deal on that. There's tucked back here. There's a new 500 Auto Max. Just a lot of my whole thing is keep it interesting, and I think that really shows.
Yeah, there's some question about the Vickers Glocks.
Vickers Glocks?
Well, there's a question about how I like it for concealed carry. I
really,
like the
you've been
aggressive.
carrying that for a while, right?
Well, I've been switching.
Forgive me in the audio. I'm going to open a soda.
Go ahead. Ooh. Yeah, burn.
That either sounded really satisfying or ultra
awful.
annoying.
Yeah, so I like the aggressive texture on it. I think that's how the Glock should have come from the factory for all of them. Just like the new M&P 2.0 texture, I really dig it. So anybody that complains about it, I don't get it. Hey, doesn't bother me.
Funny story. This topic that we're on is by a guy named Ryan Yoder, who also sent us the chocolate. 2 weeks in a row, he's commandeered the show.
Congratulations, Ryan. All right, what else do we got?
Let's see. Of course, it's going to.
You lost it.
Refresh. Yeah. How's the live chat doing? Everybody good tonight?
Yeah, people are
good. So coated bullets versus copper, and I assume you have experience with this more than I do.
Yeah, so
because of where
shop,
you worked.
Yep. So the shop I used to work at, well, we used to produce. Well, they still produce polymer coated bullets, and I guess a lot of people want to know things related to those versus the jacketed bullets, or you also have plated bullets. So plated bullets, you can't push at as high velocity as you can jacketed bullets because it's thinner. Same with the coated bullets.
Sure.
Now, people out there, there's different coatings people use on bullets too. Like I've seen people that powder coat their own bullets at home. We were using a proprietary polymer coating on the bullets that we were producing. We were also producing hard cast alloy that was like a 21 on the Brunel hardness scale, and people always had questions about, well, is it safe to shoot in Glock barrels? Because Glock says you can't shoot lead in their barrels. Well, that's BS. You can totally shoot lead through your Glock barrels. Just be aware that if you're shooting soft lead, like 15 on the Brunel hardness scale, that will lead up the barrel pretty quickly. So you got to pay attention to that. But generally speaking, it is safe to do it. Just pay attention. The harder the bullet is, or it's safer. The polymer coated stuff was fine. I know people shooting it through cans that didn't have any issues with it being a problem. Yeah. So I mean, if you're looking for a cheap way to really, I guess, reload, unless you're buying ammo that's already loaded with it, it's fine.
I've loaded a bunch of the.
Well, you were shooting it. Yeah.
Yeah, I have a ton. I have like 7,000 bullets still.
Mm-hmm.
It's fine. As far as I'm concerned, you can push them as fast as you want. That's obviously not recommended by the manufacturer, but I've never had a problem. I'm also the kind of guy that just goes, all right, we'll find out what happens.
Yeah.
Let's do it and see if it breaks.
Yeah. So I shoot, generally speaking, at least in handgun stuff, I'm shooting polymer coated stuff because I'm shooting reload still.
Yeah. So it's about halftime. You want to do halftime, or do you want to
let's get one more?
Okay. Do you know anything about 224 Valkyrie and the twist rates? Have you messed with? You haven't messed with.
I haven't played with 224 Valkyrie.
So I've been doing a lot. Ben and I have been messing around with it, and the reality is the 90 grain stuff that's out on the market right now. Federal has admitted.
Is that the only stuff out there?
No.
What weights does it come in currently? Is it a whole variety?
So from Federal right now, there are 4 varieties.
Is Federal the only one producing 224 Valkyrie currently?
No.
Okay.
There are Underwood has a load for it.
Okay.
I know Hornady. I've got their 88 grain ELD match stuff, which is
ELD matches the
in the 6.5 Creedmoor, the 140 grain ELD match is awesome.
I just bought a case of it.
The Creedmoor.
Oh yeah,
I'm so proud of you right now. So that's good ammo, and
it's not
we're gonna try it in the Valkyrie. We got a Faxon 24-inch barrel.
Nice.
The problem is the heavier stuff will not shoot in the 1-7. There's every once in a while you'll get somebody, like I had somebody say they had a bolt gun and it shot well. I've also seen 2 different kinds of the Sierra Match King that they're like 2 literally different loads in the same box. Not like in one box, but like same box, and 2 different people have 2 different kinds of ammo. Federal has admitted that they have an ammo issue in the 90 grain stuff. So there's a 60, a 75, and 2 90 grain loads.
Okay.
One is like a soft point or something.
Are they all 1-7 twist?
So at launch, everybody's making 1-7.
Right.
Right? Because they're treating it kind of like a beefed up 223.
Okay.
That's not the way to treat this. It needs, the heavy bullets need a 1-6.5 at least. I'm hoping that somebody will come out with a 1-6.
Has anybody produced a half? Like
6.5, yeah.
Really?
Yeah, it's out there.
I've never heard of that before.
1-6.5 is definitely becoming a thing, and it's going to be a thing for this cartridge.
I mean, just generally speaking, I've never heard of like a half twist rate when we're talking twist rate.
Sure. I know what you're saying, but yeah, that is true. We'll see how it goes.
So what's Federal saying the issue is with their load?
I don't quite remember.
Are they the only ones experiencing problems with the ammunition they're producing?
They're slow playing it. Okay. The cartridge is not doing what they said it was going to do. Generally speaking, nobody can get the 90 grainers to shoot well on mass because everybody's shooting a 1-7. The velocities they're talking about with the bullets they're using will not go supersonic to the distance they said, which was 1,300 yards. Now, the interesting thing is people are getting different calculations because they're using different BCs, the BC of the bullet, which is how it slips through the air. But the problem is, but the problem is that higher BC that is published puts that 224 Valkyrie at the exact same speed of a 6.5 Creedmoor, and it's like, I think that BC might be false. I don't know. We've got a lot more testing to do. I've got some different ammo. We're going to see, I've got a 20-inch PSA gun that's somewhere over here, a 20-inch Valkyrie from PSA, and then we've got a 24-inch barrel from Faxon.
Does anybody else produce a 90 grain load, and do they have problems with it, or is Federal the only one that is producing?
I think they're the only ones that are doing
it.
Like
I said, I don't know anything about the cartridge other than
I've heard there's chamber issues. I've heard there's ammo issues. The fact of the matter is, Federal was not ready, and the round is not holding up to the claims thus far.
So this is a Federal, I guess, created cartridge.
Yes.
Federal's responsible for it. Okay.
Yes.
Interesting.
So it's just not up to par yet. Some guys are saying, "Oh, you're wrong. It shoots great," but one rifle out of 1,000 does not mean the cartridge works.
So that guy is, I guess, theoretically currently lucky.
Well, I've seen the one guy commented on Instagram. He had a bolt gun.
Right.
It's not a bolt gun cartridge. So if you get it to shoot in a bolt gun, cool. But
could be.
It shouldn't be.
Chambered.
Federal came out and said this was an MSR round.
Well, that's great. That's what they said.
You know,
doesn't mean you didn't buy a chamber reamer.
Ironically funny is that they only have 18-inch barrels in the Savage guns that are still kind of under the ATK wheelhouse. Mm-hmm. And an 18-inch gun will not get the velocities.
Well, that was going to be my last
all over
question
the place.
to you. What
it doesn't make any sense.
What barrel length would you need in order to get the velocities that they're...
I had heard, and this is all the rumor mill, I had heard that to get the velocity out of it that was required to go to 1,300 yards supersonic, I heard Federal used an extremely long barrel, like 30 inches plus. Now, I don't know if that's true, but they had a sponsored shooter named Jim Gilliland. He's a former sniper, I believe.
Okay.
Military guy, and he can shoot.
Sure.
He ran one in competition and didn't even place. That tells you a lot about that cartridge. And that was right after launch.
Or the gun he was shooting it out of. What would be interesting would be if you're going to, I mean, I would assume if you're publishing data as to the speed of the projectile, you're also publishing the barrel length that came out of. Because
well, from what I
usually that's on the back
understand,
of the box, isn't it?
manufacturers are having issues getting intel out of federal. It's a big CF.
That's a good way to
it's
get
a
people to
big CF, and
adopt
I think a
your
lot of
cartridge.
people want it to shoot. It's just not there yet.
Sure. All right. Well,
Halftime.
Yeah, I guess that brings us to halftime. So, it's time to pay the bills around this joint because we got to keep the lights on so you guys can have something to listen to.
Got to keep the lights on so you can hear us.
Yeah, it totally makes sense. And if you don't like it, well then just hit the stop button.
Who's our first sponsor?
That's you, man.
Oh,
It's
it's
got
me?
your,
I'm
it's
doing
got
it this
your
week?
name on
It's
it.
got my name on it. So Blue Alpha Gear, they make some fantastic and affordable EDC belts, tactical belts, etc. They've got a kind of low profile one without a standard buckle, which Genevieve loves. They've got the hybrid, which I've been wearing a lot lately, which is a Cobra buckle, but they use a smaller size so you can feed it through your belt loops without having to deal with any nonsense of taking the belt apart, basically, which is cool. And then they've got a couple like duty tactical belts, which you just got.
Yes. But I haven't had a chance to play with.
Right, you haven't had a chance
I
to play
haven't
with
done
it,
anything yet.
But the point is, they make some really high quality stuff, and they support our show. So, with that being said, they also have a super duper secret discount code just for the listeners of the TGC podcast.
Oh boy.
It's not written down anywhere,
Okay.
but it's TGC10. If you use that over at bluealphagear.com, you'll get a discount.
How much?
10%.
Nice.
Who
Nice.
else?
And our show is also brought to you by the awesome cats over at patreon.com. The TGC Patreon supporters support the show. So you can pledge your support for only $1 a month, or you can join our $5 forces. If you join our $5 forces, you get entered into the monthly gun giveaway. And this month's gun, are we still on this gun? Did it change yet?
It's gone. It's gone.
It's gone.
Oh, well, it's not gone. It's given away.
It's
I gotta
given
pack
away.
it up.
We don't have another gun yet.
Not yet.
All right. Well, this month's gun is unknown, but
it's gonna be a
you'll
revolver.
It's going to be a revolver. This month's gun is an unknown revolver.
I'm thinking.
Doesn't matter what you're thinking because that's not what it is. It's
Okay.
unknown at this point.
It's unknown.
It's unknown.
Okay.
Yes.
So
So
if you
you
wanna
could win
support
the
us-
unknown.
Yeah.
If you want to support us, head on over to patreon.com/theguncollective. We appreciate your support, but obviously it's not required.
True. That's very true. Hey, shout out to the guy in the live chat that had a bunch of probes and MX6s. That's a throwback to my early days in the car scene.
Ford probe.
Ford probe and the Mazda MX6 shared a lot of parts. The body obviously was different, but
Really interesting.
yeah. So the early MX6s and the early probes had like a turbo version.
Yes.
And then when they evolved into the 4-cylinder and 6-cylinder variants, they again shared the engines and transmissions and whatnot.
Interesting.
Yeah.
What else we got from our listeners or
So
fans?
one of the
over at-
things that I don't know that we're going to be able to talk about is people want us to talk about the Supreme Court nominee, Kavanaugh, and I don't know enough about him to really wax on that.
Yeah.
I've heard that he's 2A friendly. But
He, the real like abridged version, he's 2A friendly. He's for all of you that think all gun laws are unconstitutional, he won't be your guy along with anyone else that gets nominated to the Supreme Court. And for those of you that believe that gun rights should be second class, he's also not your guy.
yeah.
He's pretty good, but he's not going to go to the extreme that some people would like, if that's a good way to describe that.
Let's see here. Joe Sharp Jr., the importance of knowing how to handle multiple different types of firearms. And I think that depends on each person because not everybody knows how to handle a lot of different stuff.
Sure. The important. So is
Yeah,
there? Is there
I mean,
a question?
discuss the importance of it.
Discuss the importance of it. Well, I think the most important thing that you can do is gun safety. Generally, because there are definitely firearms that you can run across that don't operate the same as ones that you're familiar with, and if you do stupid things with them, you're setting yourself up for an accident.
Well, it's really about understanding the particular firearms that you own and use on a fairly regular basis, and knowing how to use them safely.
Yeah.
You can get into run and gun and training and all that kind of stuff, but if you can't do it safely, it doesn't matter.
Yes, that is true. Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. What else we got?
So Dan Barnhart, who is from, why can't I remember that? I'm spacing on the name of the company, but Dan is a supporter of TGC, and he wants to know about that pill bottle suppressor.
Yeah, so if you didn't follow us on Instagram, you should probably go do that over at the Gun Collective or at the Adam Kraut. But I have obtained a Gemtech pill bottle, which is a silencer that nobody else other than one person that I know of has, and I don't know if any others actually are out there in the wild. And now that Big Blue bought Gemtech, it's definitively going to be that'll never make it out there. So the pill bottle itself,
it was America Grip.
Okay. For those that don't know what the pill bottle silencer is, it is a tiny little
tiny is an understatement. It's the smallest thing
I'd say, like, if you took your thumb,
it's
and cut it at the knuckle, and then just took the part up to the nail, it's probably about that long. It has a single wipe, tiny. And it's just a chamber with a wipe. I had been on the hunt for a Beretta 21A for a while. Mm-hmm. My buddy at a local gun shop knew I was looking for it. Not the shop I worked at. They were aware too, but a different local gun store. And he texted me a picture one day of this gun on the counter. Guy came in to trade it in towards something, and he said he grabbed it from that dude and was like, "We're gonna buy it from you," because he knew I wanted it.
Sure.
So I went down there and picked that up. I sent it out to Jeb over at ArmTac, who threaded it for me and modified it so that it has a slide lock now instead of a safety,
which is super cool.
So it's like, think Beretta Hush Puppy style. You can lock the slide forward so it doesn't cycle. So we were actually shooting that here earlier today. Yeah. We took it out back. We ran some CCI standard through it. It's exactly what you'd expect. It's a wiped can that's got very little volume in it, and it does an okay job of knocking down the noise.
Sounds kind of like a firecracker.
Yeah. It's exactly what you would expect it to be. It's not going to be the quietest silencer that's ever been made, and it's certainly not going for that. So it's
pure cool factor.
Yeah, I mean, like, really, it was just like the unique factor, but that's kind of what was going with it there. So I'm happy with it overall because it's something I have that no one else does, except for one person that I know, and it's different.
Yeah. It's really, really different.
And now John wants a tiny Beretta 22 to thread.
Just because.
And we're going to have some, I think we're going to be getting some other micro 22 cans here to play around with. So we'll definitely try and do some videos and comparisons and pictures and all that fun stuff.
The bitty 22s coming.
Okay. And I think Jeb is sending his Covert, which is another keychain.
Yeah, that thing's pretty cool too.
So the pill bottle also has, the reason it was called the pill bottle is it has the, what is it called? The chartreuse, is it? The snake with that goes around the staff.
I don't know what that's called. The medical symbol.
Yeah, the medical symbol. I forget what it's called. It has that laser engraved on the one side, and then obviously the manufacturer serial number, all that on the other. But it's also got a keychain insert for the threads where you'd thread it onto the barrel itself. Cool. So the idea was that you could put pills in it, and apparently guys that may have used it to do things would carry like a little capsule of fish oil in there and use that as a blade to run it. Yeah, to run it wet.
Oh, that's kind of cool. That's a neat idea. We should try that.
Oh yeah, sure.
What?
I think they were breaking it open before they were just popping rounds through it. But yeah.
No, I mean, yeah, like
because fish oil doesn't smell.
I don't care. It's your can.
Yeah, I know. I know you don't care.
I don't care. What's it gonna smell like? Freedom and fish oil.
Yeah, fish oil.
Get
and
over
just
it.
Burnt gunpowder.
Yeah, that sounds good. It's gonna be all gluey and nasty in there and fishy.
Nope.
Fishy can.
So yeah, a neat little toy there.
Yeah, I don't really have a
caduceus.
Caduceus, is that
yeah,
what
I think that's what one of the.
That's a weird word.
Yeah, caduceus. I don't know if I pronounced it correctly either, but that's what it looks like. There's two people that have said it.
I'm gonna name my firstborn kid Caduceus, or my dog. I'm gonna get a dog just to name it Caduceus.
Okay.
Why are you mad?
Odd.
Well. Are you surprised?
No.
So the next thing that we've got here to talk about, again, from the TGC Nation Facebook group, is PCCs, the pistol caliber carbine. That concept has kind of exploded in the last year or so.
Well, now that the Army wants it, I totally need one because it's mil-spec, bro.
Shut up and tell me what you really think.
I think they're dumb, personally.
Why?
Because if you're going to do a rifle. Especially at that size, 300 blackout supers. Why would you put a...
Cost of ammo plays a lot into it.
For what?
What do you mean?
Well, I guess it depends what your purpose is. If you're using it as a, I think it's defensive weapon, because I don't think anybody here is doing offensive things.
No, I don't think so either.
I would just think that if I could get a rifle round into a gun that size versus a pistol round, I would do that, because what are you gaining? I guess maybe some controllability over the firearm because you're shooting a rifle rather than a pistol.
No.
I
think you can control. So a lot of people don't understand this, but because they think pistol caliber stuff is smaller, the recoil impulse is...
Well, direct blowback sucks.
Right. It's generally speaking actually heavier than a lot of my 5.56 guns. The heavier recoiling gun.
Interesting.
Yeah.
But I would think, the other thing is, what are you gaining in the round itself? Some velocity, maybe out of a longer barrel length, and that's it.
Yeah, but the funny thing is, a lot of guys are now doing pistols, and they're doing it like a 9mm. Like I've got, I don't know where we put it, but we had it. Was a 9mm with a 4-inch barrel. That's exactly the same as any other
handgun.
Right.
Yeah.
Now the cool thing, I think, is when you start suppressing those. When you throw a can on there and you kind of change the game, and like, it's just, for me, it's a fun thing. Now, do I think they're like the most practical thing? Am I going to start using one for home defense? Absolutely not.
I don't think they're game changers. I mean, you look at it.
I think they're just fun.
The way I kind of look at it is, if you look at it from a standpoint of, like, I guess the MP5 or the UMP and that stuff, I don't know if that would count as a pistol caliber carbine. But
well, the USC. Well, somebody asked about the USC.
I see that.
The USC is absolutely a pistol caliber carbine.
Okay, well, but I mean, you come back to it. I mean, I guess it, again, depends on what you're using it for. But you look at, like, a lot of the police and even military units were using MP5s, and now they're like ditching those for rifles because they can get a
really
rifle round in a tiny package.
But we're also seeing things like the BNT gun that's like, I don't know what it's called, but I think it's a USW.
Okay.
Why don't you see if you can pull it up so you can get some context on it? But it's basically a semi-auto pistol with a folding stock. It looks like, that thing.
Yeah.
So it's like a standard-looking pistol, but it's got this like nub off the back end of it that allows you to carry it or treat it like a PDW or something like that. And I think that concept in urban warfare is not bad, because you've got the concept of getting something ultra tiny where a rifle won't fit in your gray man scenarios, or urban stuff where you're trying to lay low, or what have you. I don't know. I'm not a professional, but the point is, I think that has some validity, excuse me. But I think for the U.S. consumer, it's really more about fun and different, because...
Well, yeah, I would probably agree with you on the consumer aspect of it.
Well, you think there's this kind of curmudgeon guy in the gun community that's like, oh yeah, why do you need a 300 blackout? A 308 will do everything you need. Just shoot subsonic 308.
Oh, then buy subsonic 308.
My point is, that guy exists in mass in the gun industry,
and he's going to die.
No. There's young guys doing it.
They'll eventually die too.
They're like, oh well, I want innovation, but I don't want that innovation.
No,
and these like little incremental things, like there's a lot of guys out there that are like 224 Valkyrie is a fad. While that may be true, we are learning and pushing. And while it may not be the biggest thing ever, like Federal wanted it to be, it may be the next step that leads somebody to find an idea that works better than something else and can push and move and educate. I think that's why these things are more significant, and that's why we should get excited about new and different. Someone in the chat, I'm going to grab this question real quick. Someone said, how do you like your M1A? I've been looking into the SOCOM. The M1A that I have sitting directly behind me is a $3,700 paperweight. I'm not a fan. We've got a video coming out on these. Really disappointing for how much this thing costs.
Where he did not throw it in the trash can.
Yeah, I did not, because it's a $3,700 gun.
Well,
I'm going to send it back, I think. But either way.
Good idea. What else we got?
Oh, sorry.
No, it's okay. You're the keeper of the topics this week.
I'm not the keeper of the topics.
Oh, I see that.
I'm gonna try and refresh because I'm sure we've got some more comments here.
Yeah, so I guess all in all, the pistol caliber carbines to me, fad. I don't want to say fad. Not something I'm interested in. But if it's your cup of tea, cool, man. Like that's the one thing. Like, there's enough different guns out there for people with different interests. Like, you know, that's not my thing, but cool. If you enjoy it, good for you.
There's also this discussion of, do you have a pistol that takes the same mags as your pistol caliber carbine?
No, I don't. I don't.
God, you're a curmudgeon tonight. But the point is, guys are like, oh, I have a Glock, I have a Glock, I have a Glock. So they get excited about having a larger gun that takes the same magazines. So that concept, I think, is really, really strong, but I don't think it has as much validity as people wish it did.
I think some...
But I'm also not a normal consumer, and I've never been that guy.
Well, I also think some people have it in their head that they're going to use these things for scenarios that are never going to come to fruition.
Of course. I mean, carrying a gun is almost that same way.
I don't think so. I think that's more akin to wearing a seatbelt or, you know, putting a fire extinguisher in your kitchen. Because, like,
yeah, but you do that for scenarios that may not happen. I think
they're far more likely than some of the other scenarios that would require you to be able to use a pistol caliber carbine with the same magazine.
Yeah, that's a very fair point. Yes.
Thank you. That's what I'm getting at. I'm not saying like you're going to walk out the front door and get into a gunfight or that your kitchen's going to catch on fire, but like there's a potential that you may need to, you know, same with a car accident.
Yeah.
All right.
Every time we get into a discussion, AR pistol versus SBR.
SBR.
No. Why? Let's debate this.
Because I'm not a peasant? I don't know.
That's not why. Tell me why.
I like stocks.
Okay. I like things that are braces.
That's cool. The advantage, I will say, though, the one thing that is advantageous to pistols versus SBRs is the ability to cross over state lines without having to notify ATF. I'll give you that. I will absolutely give you that.
Where's the benefit in just the stock? That's the benefit?
Yes. Plus, I paid the government $200.
So you feel better about saying that that's better? I mean, that's what you're doing right now. You're saying,
I collect
paid money.
Stamps, dude. I don't know.
Do you have a T-shirt that says you're a stamp collector?
Oh, God, no.
Perhaps a tattoo?
A
tattoo?
No. A tattoo-y? No tattoo-ys. I like SBRs. I always have, and that's, you know, I'll continue to like them.
Okay.
Maybe I'm just old and set in my ways. Old and angry.
You're not old, but you are set in your ways.
Old and in the way.
So we've got some interesting discussion in the chat about things like 327 Federal, which was supposed to be a cool revolver round.
Oh yeah, I've seen the Smiths that were chambered in that. Yeah,
less recoil than a 357, but better than a 38 Special, I believe, is where that fell.
Is it? I've
never shot one.
We sold them at the shop. By sold them, I mean I saw them in the case.
They were there, but nobody bought them.
Well, no, we may have.
It's like 45 Gap.
No, 45 Gap was Gaston's Glock's attempt to make himself more important than he was. Well, you're going to buy a cartridge with my name on it, and then he sold it to law enforcement agencies that were like, this thing sucks.
Can you do it in his accent?
No, I don't know what his accent... I don't know what his accent sounds like.
Yeah. Mine a pistol cartridge.
I'm sorry. It sounds like billions of dollars, and you're not doing it right.
No. It sounds like...
sounds like money.
It sounds like wealth. That's interesting. The doorbell. Hey, somebody's here. So I think the discussion about 25-45 sharps is really interesting. I talked about that on TGC News recently.
I don't know anything about it.
So it was not by Sharps Bros, but by Sharps Rifle Company.
Okay.
And it is, I believe, it's like a 25 caliber 5.56. I'm not positive on what the parent case is, but it was supposed to be a larger round, and it wasn't very accurate. It didn't really have that much of a terminal ballistic advantage. I think they were shooting 100 grain bullets or something like that. But I mean, at that point, get a blackout. Like shoot 123 grain blackout or something like that. I thought it was kind of weird. And the thing that I talked about is the fact that if you're not marketing something, it's going to die. If you're not pushing it, if it is not well established by both marketing, other manufacturers, ammo support, rifles chambered in it, all of these sorts of things go into a round staying alive, and that's why you don't see those things right now.
No, so that's a fair point. Yeah. Well, I guess for new cartridges, there's a lot of things you got to do in order to support them. But I would think, other than availability, the other thing would be adoption of it in
Right.
mass, not just one or two specialty or boutiques, or even one or two big guys.
Right.
So, anything else in TGC Nation tonight?
No.
That's it. All right.
That's what we're up against. We're coming up to the end of
Yeah, we're
our
rolling to the
discussion
end
anyway.
anyway.
Do we have any super chats?
Nope.
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 What do we have for questions? I know we've got some questions in here.
When are you gonna get Baby P Pants his own Nerf gun?
I don't know. I'll get him a squirt gun before I get him a Nerf gun. He's baby steps.
Good point. Good call.
Yeah.
We wouldn't want him to hurt something.
Yeah, he'd shoot your eye out, Ralphie.
What's one of your budget pistols or rifles that you still have?
What about you? Do you have anything budget? I don't think you do.
I don't know what you'd consider budget.
Under $500.
Ooh, let me think about that.
That's generally what I think of when I think of budget.
Well, both my 870s would have been under that. Both of them.
Okay.
I have a
Not after the tax stamp.
Yeah, I bought that shotgun from a dude in Home Depot's parking lot for $200.
Oh wow.
Got the barrel for free. $200.
Screw
400.
you. Screw you.
Bam. I have a Smith & Wesson Shield, Gen 1.
Okay.
That was under $500. That'd be a budget gun.
Yeah, that's a budget gun.
By this, I have a Blue Label Glock. That'd be a budget gun.
Oh.
I think that's going to be about it. I don't think any of the AR-15s I have are below that. I have some that are one or two that I built that are probably around that threshold, but they're going to be close to that. But I don't have anything as far as if you like walking into a shop and buying it off the shelf. I think that's going to be limited to the Shield really and the 870 Express, my first gun. I think that's going to be it.
Okay.
What about you?
Let me look at the wall
You
here.
got that high point.
Right now, I have a PF9. That's a budget gun over there. I've got the High Point C9. That's a budget gun. What I paid versus what they're worth. I traded for the Springfield.
Yeah, the XT.
And I'd call that a budget gun. I've got this, what is this? The 4595, the High Point 45 carbine. That's definitely a budget gun.
For a budget gun, by the way, those High Point carbines are
fantastic.
They're
fantastic
awesome
for what
guns.
they are. I don't know that there's anything else here that
They have them
really,
in 10 millimeter too.
One on the way. Actually, I got to go pick it up.
Okay.
A camo one, 10 mil.
Well, yes.
Yeah, got to pick that up. I don't think that anything else I have back here is really what I would call budget. I'm sure like those single shot 22s maybe, but that's not really a budget gun. Like people don't go buy that and call, I got my budget rifle. They don't do that with those.
I don't know many people that, other than like people who buy PSA or 15s saying that they have budget guns.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that a lot of budget ARs are just junk. That so someone can say they've got a cheap gun.
Yeah.
I think the Chaos Carbine was fairly cheap. I don't remember I think I had like $600 into it. It was fairly cheap for what it was.
Cheap is relative too.
Yeah.
It's different for everybody.
It's got a Geisley trigger in it. That's like half the price right there.
Yeah.
Like between the piston system, I don't remember. But either way, we've got a super chat
We got
here.
2 super chats.
Oh, we've
and
got
then
more than one.
We're gonna be on our way out here. It looks like.
Okay, let's hit them.
We got Steven Simon says, thanks for answering the M1A question. How about the Steyr Scout?
Never shot one.
I don't think I've ever seen one.
I don't know that I've seen one at a gun store.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Not in our area for sure.
Yeah, and Scout rifles, generally like
They're not common.
popular.
No,
They're
they're
at
not.
least out this way they're not.
They may be in I know Ryan Machad from the Handgun Podcast is big into Steyr handguns, but yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I've never seen one of their rifles anywhere near here.
Right.
Not even the AUG. I've not seen an AUG.
I've seen an AUG. We had one. We had one or two come through the shop
at some point.
I don't know if you were there. We had one or two come through the shop, but it wasn't by any means common.
Okay. We got another super chat.
HBO Matt, series on suppressed 45 and 1911 versus new guns.
What?
That's what it says. Series on suppressed 45 and 1911 versus new guns. I don't know if that's supposed to be thoughts on suppressed 45 and 9.
Scroll so I can see the text. Okay.
And it's right there too for you.
I don't know what that means. I think that's perhaps a request.
Oh, maybe.
Suppressed guns are going to be popping up more and more on the channel.
Well, I mean, if you want to talk about 45 and 9s and then 1911s versus new guns, 1911s, I don't know if I've ever shot one with a cam on it.
I have.
I'm trying to think.
Yeah,
probably. 45 versus 9. I like 9.
I like 45, but I also like 9. So like I'm not gonna fall on one side of that argument because both have merit. I like big, slow, heavy bullets for being suppressed. I like that every freaking 45 is subsonic, with the exception of the ultralight bullets.
Yeah, but who shoots the ultralights?
Some guys do for defense.
Okay, but the majority of ammunition you're buying for 45 is like 230 grain, 200 grain,
yeah, right,
180.
and all that's subsonic.
Yeah,
generally speaking.
Right. Okay. Well then, I guess. Oh, I see. He wants us to do a series on suppressed 45 and 9s, 1911s versus new guns. Well, we don't have any 1911s.
Yeah, neither one of us owns a 1911.
Let alone a threaded 1911.
Yeah. I can't think of a company that I would buy a threaded 1911 from right now.
I can't think of a company I'd buy a 1911 from right now.
I'd buy an E-Series or from Smith, or the Pro Series 9mm 1911 from Smith. That is a really nice gun.
Really interesting.
I would like to have a 2011, but that's a different ball game.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's going to bring us to the end of this week's show. If you well, that's going to bring us to the end of this week's show. Be sure to check out The Gun Collective on all social media platforms.
Oh my goodness.
You can follow us at The Gun Collective on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Full 30, and wherever else you can catch us on social media, including Twitter. Check me out on Instagram at The Adam Crowd if you want to watch for awesome videos of dogs, food, and things that are totally not gun-related, including some gun stuff that is gun-related.
What? What?
This week's show is brought to you by Blue Alpha Gear and our TGC Patreon supporters over at patreon.com/theguncollective. If you're checking out the Blue Alpha Gear and you want to get that super duper TGC discount, punch in the code TGC10 while you're checking out at bluealphagear.com. If you have any questions, concerns, comments, constructive criticisms, or critters, you can email those on over to theguncollective@gmail.com. I am butchering this so bad this week.
I'm proud of you.
Thank you. That's all for this week. We'll catch you next time.
That's all, folks.
That's how it's ending. Bye.
Bye.